Hey guys, Justin here. So today I'm going to the AMC Crystal Run in Middletown, New York to see Captain America: Brave New World. This is a sequel to Captain America: Civil War and also acts as a continuation for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series. This movie is directed by Julius Ona and is the 35th movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This movie stars Anthony Mackie, Danny Ramirez, Shira Haas, Carl Lumbly, Zosha Rockmore, Johannes Hakor Johannesson, Giancarlo Esposito, Liv Tyler, Tim Blake Nelson, and Harrison Ford. This is also pretty funny because this is the first time since I've gotten home that I went to the movies. So instead of hopping on a bus to get over to Disney Springs, I have to drive 30 minutes to get to the theater.
Nicely done.
Thank you. Yes. AMC Theaters. We make movies better. Alright, everybody's asleep in my house, so I have to be a little bit more quiet for doing this next part of my review. But here we go. Following the events of Eternals and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a new resource is discovered upon the corpse of a Celestial who lies in the Indian Ocean. This resource is adamantium, which was referenced in the X-Men movies. This is a highly valuable resource to many leaders, including newly appointed President of the United States, Thaddeus Ross, played by Harrison Ford. Sam Wilson, played by Anthony Mackie, stops an illegal sale of this resource in Mexico. And to encourage cooperation in mining the substance, a summit's held in Washington, D.C., with Sam and Joaquin Torres, who is the new Falcon, played by Danny Ramirez, in attendance. And Sam invites former super soldier Isaiah Bradley, played by Carl Lumbly, to this event. During the summit, Thaddeus expresses interest in reforming the Avengers. Later on during the speech, Isaiah becomes agitated and starts attacking White House staff and almost injures the president. And then Sam runs after him to question him about what he was doing, but Isaiah was seemingly unaware of his actions. And following this, Sam becomes irritated that Isaiah got arrested, given his history in the super soldier program and how the government treated him after this program was over. Thaddeus becomes angry with Sam because he doesn't believe Sam is taking this situation seriously. Sam mentions to Thaddeus that he wants to investigate this matter himself. Thaddeus believes that it's a conflict of interest, so he really doesn't want Sam to get involved in this. So he fires him, but then against the advice of a Secret Service agent who I'm believing is friends with Sam Wilson, Layla Taylor, played by Zosha Rockmore. The two of them speak, and then he's like, you know what, screw it, I'm on my own. Meanwhile, a former Red Room victim and now a U.S. official, Ruth Batsaroff, played by Shira Haas, looks further into the footage from this event to see what exactly was going on. After this, Sam goes to visit Isaiah in a military prison and suspects that there was some type of hypnosis that took place because no matter how hard he tried, he could not get an answer out of Isaiah about the events that happened that evening. Separately, Joaquin and Ruth discovered people who were in the White House, and when they had their cell phones out, there were multiple flashes of light. And following this, the song Mr. Blue by the Fleetwoods would trigger this hypnotic state. So when Joaquin figures out what exactly is going on with the security footage, he waits until he can get in contact with Sam to figure out what they do from there. But with Ruth, she believes that the two of them are going to investigate, so she goes to this location that will be further discussed. While this is all happening, Sam becomes targeted by a scientist who was involved in the sale in Mexico, and the two of them fight with each other, with Sam getting the upper hand in it. And then the scientist's phone goes off. Sam takes this phone, and he later asks Joaquin to trace the call, and they discover that it's coming from some hidden military installation in Virginia. Once they're there, they discover a laboratory in this complex with computers containing the code and the audio responsible for this attack, and also a medical file of the president. They soon find out that the person who uses this lab is a man called Samuel Stearns, who was introduced in The Incredible Hulk, and he was a man who got contaminated by Bruce Banner's blood, and as a result, it made him extremely intelligent and also deformed him. He claims responsibility for conducting the attack against the president because he was promised a pardon for his assistance in helping Thaddeus before he was president, but he was denied any sort of pardon afterwards. The two men try to escape, but they're later on attacked. And then Ruth comes in to help fight off security so they can get out. The FBI catches up to them once they leave the compound, but then they become hypnotized by Mr. Blue. So then Sam, Ruth, and Joaquin go off to go further investigate what exactly is in this medication that was listed in the president's medical file. Thaddeus flies to Japan later on for safety and to speak with the Prime Minister of Japan about the lack of cooperation in the search for more adamantium. The Prime Minister, Azoki, believes that Thaddeus is going to keep all the adamantium for the United States and nobody else, which upsets Thaddeus, and it starts to cause tension between the two leaders. Later on, Thaddeus speaks with his staff to try and find a solution to this, but he keeps increasingly getting angry. You can tell that something's not really quite right with him. So then he bursts out, and it really scares a lot of his staff since they haven't really seen him react like this before. So in order to maintain some type of control, Thaddeus decides, all right, we're boarding a ship, and we're going to go to the site, and we're going to make sure that the Japanese military does not have a handle on this. So then later on, Joaquin, Sam, and Ruth get to the ship that the president's boarded. And then eventually Sam goes to speak to Thaddeus alone. And Thaddeus becomes vulnerable with Sam and tells him that he wanted Stern's help because his health was failing and he felt like he really had no other options. And then he would try to help return the favor to Stearns in some capacity, just so Thaddeus could get the chance to see his daughter again after they had a falling out following the events of The Incredible Hulk. But then before they could find a resolution, afterward, 2 rogue American pilots attacked Japanese forces, and Sam and Joaquin helped to try and de-escalate the situation, knowing that the pilots are under hypnosis. Samuel Stearns eventually makes direct contact with the president to taunt him about trying to keep things under control while still maintaining a secret. Thaddeus becomes stressed and is almost seen to explode with rage. Meanwhile, Joaquin becomes injured, but Sam manages to take care of the conflict to avoid a war. So with Joaquin in recovery, Bucky Barnes comes to visit Sam, who's there in the other room. Sam explains that he's felt doubt about becoming Captain America when Steve Rogers seemed to have it so much easier as a super soldier. But then Bucky reassures Sam that Steve made the right choice because Sam was so committed to helping everybody out with the abilities that he already had with him. This causes Sam to feel a better sense of motivation within himself. So now, with Thaddeus back in Washington, D.C., he's prepared to finalize this treaty to maintain peace and cooperation over the Celestial Mine. During a press conference, secrets start to become uncovered that he wasn't prepared for. So Stearns meets with Sam in public to tell him that he's not prepared for what comes next. Sam's already kind of aware. Later on in the press conference, Thaddeus starts to transform into this giant red Hulk, in which Sam goes to search for Thaddeus to avoid any wide destruction. And then eventually the two of them fight, knocking each other out. But then Sam is able to talk Thaddeus down, so he's able to control his temper. Thaddeus feels awful about what he's caused and decides that it's best that if he remains under heavier protection, it would be the best for everybody. And then while Thaddeus is in custody, in this giant place called the Raft, that was briefly shown in Captain America Civil War, his daughter Betty comes to visit him while he's in this prison. And then afterwards, Isaiah is found innocent because of the evidence that was presented. And then Sam comes to see Joaquin while he's in recovery. And they share a really nice moment together. And that's Captain America, Brave New World. All right, so the end credits scene that appeared in this movie, Samuel Stearns is visited by Sam Wilson again at this raft to warn him about the danger of the multiverse, which it isn't directly said, but he says other worlds, so it's like, it's the multiverse. So some surprises that I enjoyed from this were Sebastian Stan showing up as Bucky, which following Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I was like, they have to at least include him in some capacity, which I think it worked pretty well here. And to address the elephant in the room, the switch from William Hurt to Harrison Ford, I think it was actually done quite respectfully. And this, my friends, is why you always charge your stuff before you start recording. Anyways, the change from William Hurt to Harrison Ford, I think it was done really respectfully, just for the fact that William Hurt, he never really got the chance to present himself like as a main character in a Marvel movie. And with his untimely passing, I feel like the addition of Harrison Ford helped to continue the character in a decent way. So with the score, I think it was very fitting for the tone of this movie. They were going for that political thriller vibe. And also the use of licensed music throughout this also made it quite entertaining, especially with the addition of Mr. Blue and Kendrick Lamar's I at the end credits of this. Which is funny because he just performed in the Super Bowl. And then I was like, hey, I remember this song. Oh wait, that's Kendrick. So some observations. So the character building moments within this movie, I think they were very charming and didn't really overstay their welcome all that much. And the serious moments were mostly dealt with as actual serious moments with little to no self-awareness. This movie is definitely very reliant on prior knowledge of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, at least so you could understand the motivations of certain characters. They explain it well enough within this movie where you can kind of get a general idea of what's going on without knowing any of these characters too deeply. Also, given that this movie centers around politics, there's many people who are going to have very different reactions to how they prefer the government to be portrayed within this and just media in general, and whether or not the motivations of certain characters within these works are justified, or if it's just propaganda to make us feel a certain way about the government, or what types of affiliations are presented beyond just serving the people. It is pretty funny, though, like given the parallels of our current political climate, because it definitely takes little amounts of information to get a visceral reaction so people can defend their beliefs. And also, since Donald Trump was indicted back in 2023, and in the movie it was mentioned how President Ross turned himself in and it was living the consequences of his actions. I think it was kind of funny, but it's interesting to see what the reality is like and then how a movie handles those types of details. But given all of that, I think it handles the complicated nature of politics in a decent way that doesn't really glorify any of the actions that take place within this. One issue I do have with this movie, though, I feel like the visual effects did take me out of the story at times, and some scenes were paced in a little bit of a weird way to kind of make you feel uneasy the entire time, with nothing bad actually occurring. Kind of makes for a weird watch. But overall, I thought it was pretty enjoyable. So, my final score for this is 3 out of 5. And if you ever have the chance to go see this, I highly suggest it, especially if you like thrillers. And I'd say this is very similar to Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Of course, the story is different this time around, but the Winter Soldier does make an appearance, and it's got those thriller vibes too, so it's a thriller night. Next time I do something like this, I'm going to make sure I have my devices charged before I start to record with a different device. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching this video, and if you'd like to check out more content like this, you can always subscribe to me here at JSheaMedia or check out any of my socials. But with that being said, thanks for watching.